I'm somewhat of a Disney adult. These ones can light up. And on my latest trip to Disneyland, I was brushing up on some of my knowledge of the parks, which led me to this video. Disney's canceled theme parks. The video talked about 4 different theme parks Disney tried to make, but ended up falling through for one reason or another. And as someone deeply enthralled by the corporate greed of a dead man, I dived right in. However, one of the parks talked about in this video was Port Disney, the spiritual successor to Tokyo Disneyland's Disney Sea. And at the heart of this canceled park's design was the Queen Mary, the world's most haunted hotel. If you were anywhere near the internet in the glorious meme-filled years of 2018, chances are you stumbled upon one of these ghost hunting videos. And just like that, an old ocean liner minding her own business in Long Beach became the Beyonce of haunted ships. But why is this one considered so haunted? Oh, skeptical viewer. Buckle up. First things first, the Queen Mary was not built to be creepy. She was built to be fabulous. Launched in 1936, she was a luxury British ocean liner designed to carry about 2,100 passengers and roughly 1,000 crew across the Atlantic Ocean. Although she looked sleek and modern, parts of her design were based on old structural models. Yes, that meant she was powerful, but also susceptible to rough seas. And in the name of aesthetic vibes, certain areas reportedly lacked sufficient handrails, because those definitely aren't important on a boat in the middle of the ocean. On one of the Queen Mary's early voyages, a young girl standing atop the grand staircase was thrown forward when the ship hit a large wave, and she fell down the stairs and died from a broken neck. Then, like every history lesson, came World War II. In 1939, the Queen Mary was converted into a troop ship. She was painted gray, stripped of her luxury interiors, and then earned the nickname the Grey Ghost. She transported tens of thousands of troops across the dangerous waters, trying to evade capture from the Axis powers. One of these voyages being between Australia and Southern Africa. Because she was built for the Northern Atlantic, packing thousands of soldiers into her interior in warmer climates, turned parts of the ship in what can only be described as a floating sauna of doom. Below deck, temperatures reportedly soared past 100 degrees Fahrenheit, with rumors someone died every 7 minutes from heat exhaustion. On a different voyage, on October 2nd, 1942, while performing evasive zigzag maneuvers trying to avoid German U-boats, the Queen Mary accidentally collided with her escort ship, the HMS Caracoa. The cruiser ended up being sliced in two and sank. 338 crew members lost their lives. Over the years, visitors and staff have reported a little girl appearing atop the grand staircase, shadowy figures on the lower decks, disembodied screams in the boiler room, and sudden cold spots, as well as phantom knocks and footsteps. Skeptics say it's just the old ship creaking and groaning. Believers like me say spirits still linger aboard the ship. Either way, the Queen Mary has fully embraced her haunted reputation. In 1976, the city of Long Beach bought the ship after she retired from ocean services. The city then leased operation rights to private companies, and in 1978, the lease transferred to the Rather Corporation. So where does Disney fit in? Well, what most people probably don't know is that when the Disneyland Hotel was being built in 1955, it wasn't owned by Disney. When building Disneyland, Walt wanted a luxury, yet family-friendly hotel that visitors of his new park could stay at, mainly because at the time, Disneyland was being built in the middle of goddamn nowhere. However, Disney didn't have the funds to operate and build a hotel on top of the theme park, so Walt reached out to his good friend, Jack Rather, who agreed to finance and build the hotel. But in 1988, the Walt Disney Company decided it wanted full control of its surrounding resort area. Because of course they did. And in order to expand to a second hotel and a potential second theme park, Disney purchased the Rather Corporation outright for $152 million. By acquiring the entire company, Disney successfully obtained the Disneyland Hotel, but also the Queen Mary's lease agreement, making Disney the proud owners of the world's most haunted hotel. In the late 1980s, Disney was in the middle of an aggressive global expansion under CEO Michael Eisner. Walt Disney World had just opened MGM Studios. Tokyo Disneyland in Japan was thriving, and Disney was preparing for the 1992 opening of Euro Disneyland, now known as Disneyland Paris. In California, Disneyland was also being eyed for long-term expansion. But instead of building next door in a massive unused parking lot, Disney looked a little more west. They soon announced plans for an ambitious new waterfront resort in Long Beach called Port Disney. The centerpiece of Port Disney was a nautically themed theme park designed specifically for the seaside setting. Unlike the traditional castle parks, Port Disney would have centered on ocean exploration, legendary voyages, and richly detailed harbor environments. Its design leaned towards an immersive atmosphere and large-scale world building rather than fairy tale iconography. Beyond a theme park, Port Disney was envisioned as a fully integrated coastal resort. Plans included multiple hotels, shopping and entertainment district, a marina, and a purpose-built cruise terminal that would later align with the 1998 launch of Disney Cruise Line. The Queen Mary was to be restored and repositioned as a signature hotel and thematic centerpiece of the entire development plan, blending real maritime history with Disney storytelling. But the project faced a mountain of obstacles. Port Disney required extensive land reclamation and major infrastructure upgrades, prompting environmental opposition and massive elevating costs. At the time, Disney was managing financial pressures tied to the troubling early years of Disneyland Paris. By 1991, amid economic uncertainty and rising risks, Disney officially canceled Port Disney. Although the Long Beach version was never built, many of its creative concepts were later resurfaced in Tokyo Disney Sea, which opened in 2001. 1 year after the cancellation of Port Disney in 1992, Disney sold the lease management of the Queen Mary to a private investment group. The ship continued to operate as a hotel and tourist attraction under new management. While Disney focused on expanding the Anaheim resort, opting to build California Adventure in the old parking lot, during this time period, the Queen Mary's reputation as a haunted attraction grew steadily. Various TV shows, paranormal documentaries, and countless ghost hunting tours spotlighted the ship's eerie history, cementing its status as one of America's most famous haunted locations.